Hello, friends. We are now live on Facebook. I love seeing that message and knowing that all of the tech integrations and miracles that happen are working in our favor. Isn't that wonderful? My name is Dr. J, and I'm very excited to be going live from our brand new home in Florida. We just this week got my favorite horse painting up. I purchased that. I've been eyeing it at Ethan Allen when we were in Tucson, Arizona for a horse show. And my parents happen to live there. So we were with my mom who loves Ethan Allen. It was a big thing for her. She moved to the United States in high school. And after growing up in not necessarily poverty, but definitely in amidst the struggle of financial hardship. And I'm so inspired by her because she became a nurse who does heart transplants. Like, to come to the US and really know nobody and to build that for yourself. That's why I'm passionate about education, because I've seen education change people's lives. And I know that for me, as a scholar and a little bit of a geek who's really intellectually curious, it's education and my current quest for knowledge that's always equipping me with the tools to be able to live and lead my best life. A lot of us allow life to happen to us. And I want to encourage you to have life happen for you. And so I do that through building leaders, because I believe that each and every one of us is a leader, and we all lead the most difficult person on the planet every single day. Isn't that the truth, right? If you got yourself out of bed this morning, you led the way. If you did your hair and held yourself to a high standard. My brilliant beauties were working this week in High Performance Leadership Academy. In our influence session, we talked about the standards we hold for ourselves impact the results that we achieve. And so when we do things like do our hair, makeup, nails, lipstick, all those little things, for me, it's also about nourishing my body with nutrient dense foods and liquids and things that bring energy, vibrant energy. I used to eat for taste. And now I know that I'm eating for nutrients. Part of changing the trajectory of my disease with cancer was related to getting fierce and focused with my foods and fitness. So cheers, taking a sip of some mushroom tea to good health, lion's mane. I love that. Reishi, love that. Investigate the power of mushrooms, my friends. They're great things. So this week, we're talking about influence, and the world's most influential people do three things. I love that because three is a number that I can remember. It's not a list of 12, or like, I love studying the habits of mind of the world's most successful people, but there's 16 of those, and they break them down into three categories, and it's a lot to remember. But influence, when it comes to influence, the world's largest body of research on high performers shows that they do these three things. So get your notebook ready. Let's go, my friends. First, they teach us how to think. Second, they challenge us. And third, they role model the way. So let's break this down. They teach us how to think. Often, our behaviors and our actions are a result of our thinking. When we have certain thoughts, like if I think food is fuel, I make different choices with my nutrition than if I think, oh my God, I'm starving. I've let the day get the best of me, and I'm just running around like a chicken with my head cut off, or like a ping pong ball, or like someone playing whack-a-mole. You know the drill. We've all had those days. When I operate that way, I'm eating because I'm ravenous, and I make a different decision based on that. Right? So influential people are often focused on teaching people how to think. So in this moment, I want you to think of someone or a group of someone's who you're trying to influence. So think about that person or that group, and think about what would they need to think to achieve whatever it is you'd like for them, right? I want you to embrace a leadership stance in your life. The world's most successful and influential leaders have high degrees of self-awareness. So we work a lot on identity. Because I'm trying to influence your empowered behaviors in life, I'm framing your thinking about leadership. A lot of times people think someone else is a leader and they surrender their power. But when we claim the role of leader in our lives, and we recognize that we have agency, and that we're empowered, we behave differently. So one of the ways I'm trying to influence this group and community is to help you build the identity of leader, leader of your family, leader of yourself, leader of your community, leader of your team, because there's grassroots leaders all over the place. You don't need a title to be a leader. No one, there's not some like magic wand that someone's carrying around, the leadership fairy, who dubs you, you're a leader today, right? You get to claim that for yourself. And so that's one of the things that I'm trying to help you think about. So think about the person or group, and what do you need them to think? For example, with my daughter, I need her to think that education's important. I need her to think that her attitude and tone of voice matters. I'm raising a teenager, so those conversations are happening often. I need her to think that she's beautifully and wonderfully made, and she can walk in confidence and trust in her ability to figure things out. I'm trying to blend scripture and high performance into the belief system that she has, and I'm constantly conditioning that. This week in our High Performance Leadership Academy, one of the women brought up a song by Stick Figure called "The Choice Is Yours." And we've all been listening to that with our children, and then being on the lookout for God glimmers. I love those words that were shared with me this week. And so really thinking about helping her see the God glimmers, to see the miracles, because we're wired with a negativity bias. And so it's easy for our minds, it's common for our minds to go to the worst. And I want to condition you outside of a common life or the normal distribution curve, what most people do. The common behaviors lead to common outcomes. And none of us really aspire for common outcomes. If we look at the norm, most people are overweight, depressed, burdened with anxiety and financial stresses. That's not how I want you to live. That's not how God designed you to live. So I want you to be pulled out of that norm and into the extraordinary. And so if you think about that, think about your top, pick your percent. You might want to start with the top 10%, work your way to 5, 2, 1, right? But I want her to be thinking that way. And so I want her to have that high performance mindset, not a common mindset. And so I need her to see that she's brilliantly and wonderfully made. I need her to see the number one trait that the world's highest performers carry, and that is they trust in their ability to figure things out. So I'm constantly influencing her to think that way. Then I have to look at how could I get her to begin to think that way? In education, this is called scaffolding, right? You didn't start kindergarten focusing on algebra and pre-calculus and trigonometry. You started with the foundation of numeracy and one-to-one correspondence and number sound representation. So then you look at, so what are their first thoughts, right? What is the initial learning? And then what beliefs do they have to carry? So for me to have my daughter have the belief that she can figure things out, she has to believe that she's strong, that she's courageous, that she's intelligent, that she's brilliantly and wonderfully made. So I have to acknowledge that in her. Then I have to look at how do I get her to stop thinking in competing ways? What does she have to believe, right? There's a competing way of thinking. And then what are the benefits? So I'm constantly framing to her, did you notice that person? Did you see that person? And we're paying attention to our environment and the extraordinary that we see. We're directing our reticular activating system in the brain very intentionally to tune into the channels that bring us the greatest joy. Number 2, they challenge us. So I want you to come back to that person or group that you're trying to influence and think about a challenge that you could issue to that person or group to give them an exciting vision of the future. Leaders are kings and queens of crafting a compelling vision. It's a compelling vision that inspires us to do great things in our lives. And so often we need to make that shift at the end of a day from when we're exhausted and fatigued to creating the compelling vision for our family, to have amazing heart talks and deep connection and presence and joy and laughter, right? And to even elicit our kids and our family members get them in on that vision. And then think about this challenge invites people to raise up because it demands that they do what? Insert the verb, right? It demands they practice self-regulation. It demands that they practice self-awareness. I'm requiring that of my daughter. This challenge is good for them and for others because it will bring her more joy. It will also increase her effectiveness and influence as she's working with trainers, as she's doing her horse apprenticeships, as she's striving to reach new levels of competition now that we're here in Florida and looking at competing and preparing her to compete at the World Equestrian Center. And then thinking about the way I'm going to communicate this challenge to them. So those first three thoughts, the compelling vision, demands for them, and why it's good for them, that's your inside track of thinking. And then you think about how can you communicate that with clarity, brevity, and impact? Less is more. A lot of us talk too much. I'm very guilty of that, my friends. Third part, they role model the way. This is key. We don't believe the message if we don't believe the messenger. I once had, I'm just debating how much to share. I'll just go all in with y'all because I expect you to do the same with me. So my brother, he's 9 years younger than me and from my mom's second marriage, and I just love him. We grew up playing baseball and having so much fun together, and I just really cherish him. I think the world of him. And as he gets older and into life and the cadence of working too many hours and striving to grow his career, we've all been there, right? What happens when you're in that space? Your nutrition typically goes downhill, your meal prep and planning, right? You're burning the midnight oil, working hard, and you have that vision of the future that you're striving towards. And in that quest, you gain a little weight, right? And so my mom was noticing this, and I have changed the trajectory of my disease with food, and in the process dropped over 30 pounds and now have a fit and trim waistline, and was like, wow, look at that. I have abs, defined abs. Never thought I'd have that. I mean, I've lived with a muffin top since I was about 24. And so that was really exciting. And it was inspiring to a lot of people who I know. And so my mom said, I've been telling him he needs to change. And then it was interesting because my brother started to make some changes after coming over to my house and after having some conversations. And my mom asked me, what did you say to him? And I said, Mom, it's not what I said. It's that I'm role modeling the way. People are seeing my life, and that's inspiring change in their behavior. How often do we as parents tell our kids what they need to do while we go and do the exact opposite? My daughter calls me out on it. I'm very blessed to have a vocal child who, in a lot of ways, is more intelligent than me. And so she tells me, why would you say it like that? Or that seems rude. Did you notice that the first thing you did to me this morning was tell me what to do? You didn't even say good morning. And so I thought, wow. And here I'm expecting her to watch her tone of voice and monitor her attitude. And so we're having those dialogues and those discussions, right? So we have to role model the way. I'm trying to use upbeat verbal communication with her and a positive attitude, even when it's 5 hours at the barn and it's going to be a long haul, or just this last weekend when it was 7 hours one day followed by 3 the next day. And that wasn't a part of my plan. And so choosing to bring joy amidst challenge is something I'm intentionally role modeling. Who you are, how you show up in life, the actions you take, and the values and principles you enact are closely watched by the world. People are watching you. Are you role modeling the way? Are you carrying those standards of excellence? If you raise your standards, you raise your results. And as women, we're the leaders in our families. We're the leaders in our communities. We've been the backbone of this society. And so it's important for us to be that rising tide that raises all ships. And that's why we have to be worthy. I'm so excited for Jamie Kern-Lena's new book. Look at this thing shimmering. It's so pretty. And I loved seeing her in her sparkle pants. Jamie, if you ever get a hold of this training, I just want to shout out to you, girl. I love your story. I love your courage and transparency. I can't believe it took you 4 years to call Oprah. I'm like blown away by that, but I would probably be the same. I'm not gonna lie, I would be really shaking in my boots thinking, what could I possibly have to say? I've been in that situation where I don't speak my truth because I don't think I have something intelligent enough to say or worthy enough to say. And so for those of you who are interested, we're launching a book study and we start this Sunday. Very excited about that. So that's March 3rd. I have an event on Facebook, or you can just message me directly through Facebook. And I it'd be honored to spend that time with you if you feel called to increase your self-worth. So think of that person or group again that you're trying to influence. And then think, if I'm going to be more influential, they need to believe that I am a person who. I want you to write this in your journal for the week. I am a woman who. I am a man who. Mine are like keeps my commitments to myself, works out and moves my body daily, nourishes my body with healthy foods, does not eat foods linked to cancer. As a survivor, that one's a real big, tricky, hard one for me because I want to regress right back to my old habits. But the reality is 90 to 95% of cancers are diet and lifestyle related. So if I fall back to those old patterns of behavior, I am most likely going to experience recurrence. And I've seen it out in the cancer community, how many people have to battle this disease more than once. And I am not going there. I'm terrified, actually. So I do not. And that's a powerful statement, too. Think of the things you want to commit to yourself. I do not. I do not skip my workouts. I used to be the queen of skipping my workouts and giving everyone else all of my time and attention. And I came last. And I decided to flip that script, and it changed everything. So I do not skip my workouts. I put a Peloton in the house so that I don't have a commute to use as an excuse. I can hop on for only 5 minutes. I can check social media on there. I can make a phone call from there. I just need to be moving my body. I've made it as simple as possible for myself so that I can say I don't skip my workouts. I don't talk negatively about men. That was one, oh, I really hate admitting to you, but way back after being hurt and traumatized in a lot of my relationships, I realized that I had formed a very negative belief about men. And so to reframe that belief, I'm a big believer, write this in your journal, reframe your thinking to reclaim your life. Hashtag Dr. J. So when we reframe our thinking, we're able to reclaim our lives. When I could let go of that thought and belief that men are worthless and they're not positive contributors to families in the world, and I could shed that horrible belief that I carried out of my own pain and trauma and choose to form new beliefs and to program my reticular activating system to see differently in the world, that's how our beliefs have massive impact in our lives. Then think about the best parts of who you are that you have to show and demonstrate as you're role modeling away. I want you to make a list of that. Think of 3 words. Those of you who coach with me know that we find 3 words that describe our most awesome, extraordinary selves. Mine are vibrant, bold, connected. What are yours? I want to see them in the chat. Let's fire it up and bring the joy, bring the awareness of the best of ourselves to our lives each and every day. And then the reasons I'm willing to become a better person in order to serve this individual or this group is, why do you care so much? For me, I want to role model the way for the next generation. I want my life to matter. I want to know that I'm standing on the shoulders of all of the women who came before me. Ooh, I'm getting my little God tingle on my right leg. It's so beautiful when that happens. I know that women have paved the way. They've paved the way for me to have a bank account. They paved the way for me to be a landowner and buy 5 acres of land and a $1.5 million house without a dime of child support or alimony. That's big. That is so incredibly big. And so the women who paved the way for me to do that, I want to be a woman who paves the way for the next generation, who role models for my daughter that it is possible to live a joy-filled life, a life characterized by God, by strength and courage and love and presence and peace, all of those things. I want to role model that. I didn't always see that growing up. I didn't always live that in my early years of adulthood. And I want to claim that now. And I want to role model that for her. So I want you to think about your why and your reason. That'll help motivate you. So that's it for this week, my friends. 3 things the world's most influential people do. They teach us how to think. They challenge us. They role model the way. I want to see you in our Worthy Book study. So connect with me so I can get you all the details. I also want you to be thoughtful. God works through people. If someone's coming to mind right now, I want you to invite them to this high performance leadership community. I want you to get them to this group and invite them to go to facebook.com/groups/We Are Building Brilliance. That's what we're doing each and every day, my friends. We are brilliant beauties, and we're out in the world building brilliance every interaction, one person at a time, one step at a time, as we make our way through this crazy thing called life. With that, go out and shine your love and light into the world.